Here's how this goes. I give you some DFS plays for tonight's 15-game main slate. You agree or disagree. Pretty straightforward, guys. Easy enough. Let's do it. So Max Scherzer making his second start in a Dodgers uniform tonight against the Phillies. He had a pretty good showing last time out. He struck out 10, had a slate high 32.15 DK fantasy points against the Astros. So Paul, chase or fade Max tonight as the most expensive pitcher on the slate at 11K.
Jesse, ordinarily I'd give Scherzer a long look, but when the next guy up on the price chart is his mound opponent, Aaron Nola, this evening, and the Phillies come to town on an 8-game win streak, that's enough to discount the newest Dodger pitcher this evening for me. There's several other hurlers who will make more sense and have a very much more favorable matchup. This is a quick and easy fade for me.
What do you think, Erik? You more interested in the second most expensive guy?
I think I'll slightly fade both, although I think you could make a case for either guy. I'm just a little bit scared about pitchers at Citizens Bank Park, one of the most hitter-friendly parks in the league. Dodgers, of course, have a strong lineup. The Phillies have been hitting the ball quite well lately, averaging 6.9 runs over their 8-game hitting streak. So even though, Scherzer and Nola are talented enough to overcome that, there's more risk than I'd like with a guy that expensive. I think if I'm looking to go for one of the more expensive pitchers, I like Logan Gilbert at 9,600. Obviously doesn't have the resume of a Scherzer or even a Nola, but he's facing a Rangers team that ranks second last in WRC plus on the season. And he's doing so at T-Mobile Park, which is the second most pitcher friendly park, according to StatCast's Park Factors. Gilbert strikes out a lot of guys, 28.2%, walks just 6.4%. That's actually an identical strikeout rate and nearly identical walk rate to Joe Musgrove, just to give an idea of roughly how well he's pitched this season. So it's quite a high price for a guy with a pretty short track record, but I think there's a lot of secondary factors there that make it worth it.
Looking at a high price bat now, guys. Aaron Judge is going to cost you $5,200 on tonight's slate. He's going up against the Royals. Judge went 2 for 5 last night with a double and an RBI. Tonight, he gets a lefty in Daniel Lynch, who has an ERA of 6 this year. So, Erik, chase or fade Judge as your favorite play over 5K tonight?
I'll fade as my favorite. I think he's a fine play, although, again, park reasons make me a little worried. Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City suppresses homers more than any other park in the league, according to StatCast. And Judge hasn't been all that hot since the break, been a slightly below average hitter, 96 WRC plus. There's another guy at the exact same price tag, 5,200, who I like a lot more, and that's Matt Olsen. I've loved him really all year. He's cut his strikeout rate nearly in half, 31.4% last year, down to just 16% this year. Led to a career high 285 batting average and no loss of power. It's been super hot since the break, 174 WRC plus with 5 homers. He'll get the platoon advantage against Tristan McKenzie, who has a 5.89 ERA on the season. And he's gotten there in ways that make him really somebody I want to target with power hitters. Specifically, he can't keep the ball on the ground at all, 29.7% ground ball rate. Anytime you see that starting with a 2, I think your eyes should really light up. And that's the third lowest ground ball rate from pitchers who've thrown at least 70 innings. So a guy like Olsen, who has plenty of power, should get the chance to hit some in the air against McKenzie today.
Paul, Judge has collected 3 multi-hit games through 7 August contests. Is he your favorite play over 5K?
He's definitely one of them. This is an easy one for me, Jesse. You have a big power hitter with a platoon edge against a struggling pitcher in Lynch, who has a 159 whip and allowing opposing batters to hit for a 312 batting average overall. Sign me up for Judge at $5,200. He's definitely a chase for me. And so is a guy like George Springer, player of the week twice in a row in the American League. I wonder if your buddy Emerson is on that after seeing what he did to his Boston Red Sox.
Oh, man, we're going to have to make sure. We'll ask him. Maybe on Twitter. All right, let's take a look at some potential value on the mound tonight, guys. Carlos Carrasco will make his 3rd start of the year for the Mets tonight against the Nationals. The veteran right-hander is still trying to build up his strength, only going about 4 innings in each of his first 2 starts. However, he has struck out 9 over those 2 outings. So at 8K on this slate, chase or fade Carrasco is an option tonight, Paul.
Carrasco's at the opposite end of the starting pitcher slate that started with Scherzer that we talked about earlier, and he's backed by a team that's struggling lately with a 4-game losing streak and 2-8 in their last 10 overall. With this small sample size of work this season, there just isn't enough information for me to make him my go-to guy tonight. As we've talked there are many other choices in mid-range of the slate that make way more sense. This is definitely the easy fade for me.
Is it an easy fade for you here, Erik?
I think easy enough. If he'd gotten to 75 pitches, say, in his last start, I think I'd be on him. General rule is you expect guys to add 15-ish pitches per start, and I want my guy to be able to reasonably get to 90 pitches so that I have a fairly decent shot at a win. He threw 58 in his first start, 62 in his second one, so he only went up by 4. And that means we should estimate probably 75 to 80 pitches this time. I just don't think we can reliably count on him going 5 innings. I definitely think he can. So for larger contests, he's got the talent to put up numbers on a per inning basis that can justify his price, but I'm just a little bit too worried about getting somebody who I think has pretty low odds at a win. I think there's some other mid-price options. Maybe Jake Odorizzi is a little bit cheaper. Hasn't been great this season, gets the Rockies away from Coors Field. You could even, in a bigger contest, go with Tristan McKenzie, who I just said bad things about because while he does have a super low floor, he also has a high strikeout ceiling. So there's some other options that I think have a better chance at a win. I wouldn't be completely off on Carrasco, but I want to see him get to 75 pitches before I really start considering him strongly.
Let's talk about a guy who's heating up. White Sox outfielder Eloy Jimenez hit 2 home runs last night in his team's win over the Twins. Now he seems to be getting his timing back after missing most of the season with a pec and then groin injury. He's riding a 5-game hitting streak, 4 home runs, 4 doubles in that span at 4,400 tonight against Minnesota. Erik, chase or fade that he is your favorite hitter under 5K tonight?
Absolutely nothing bad to say about Eloy Jimenez. He's fantastic hitter and he's very well priced. Got a perfectly fine matchup against Griffin Jacks. It looks like it's going to be in the Twins. Back-to-back 2 homer nights for Eloy. Last I checked, that's pretty good. Maybe he needs 3 homers and we'll really start talking, but I'll take 2. The problem is maybe everybody else in the world is going to be on him based on those 4 homers in his last 2 games, and specifically the exact price range where he is, 4,400 to 4,600 in the outfield. I don't know the last time I've seen so much talent at this kind of price range. Nick Castellanos, Giancarlo Stanton, George Springer, Cody Bellinger, all in that price range, even Mike Yastrzemski and Tommy Pham too. I think all those guys I just listed have the platoon advantage, which Jimenez doesn't, and all of them except for Cody Bellinger, who's facing Aaron Nola, have a pretty easy matchup. So I wouldn't put Jimenez behind those guys by any means. It's just that you have a ton of choice, and if you want to pick somebody that maybe fewer people will be on, maybe look to some of those other guys.
Paul, you worried he's going to be too chalky?
I'm going to be on him. I don't care what anybody else does. You've got to take a guy who's got all this stuff going for him that was just covered. I always look for a hot hitter who doesn't necessarily command the big dollars. And what makes the case even stronger for me is that Jimenez is on an extended streak of success. When you consider 11 for 37 in his last 10 games, that's translated to an OPS of 1.144. Big time chase for me. No question about it.
All right, finally, Paul, hit us with your slate approved pick, your favorite DFS play tonight.
Well, ideally in this spot, I look for a power hitter who's raking recently and getting the platoon advantage as a bonus against a struggling starting pitcher. Tonight, those boxes all get checked off when I consider Nick Castellanos fitting the bill with his recent performance and will face Drew Smiley, who hasn't been too impressive in his last 3 starts for sure. Head-to-head, there's even an edge for Castellanos in a small sample size, but it's significant enough when you consider 6 for 13, 4 of those hits for extra bases. I definitely have to include Castellanos as my lineup for $4,400.
Erik, slate approved pick.
Yeah, I checked out Rotowire's value report for this one, little company plug there. And the top guy by far is somebody who I agree with, and that's Sam Hilliard at just 2,200. People love these small samples from Rockies hitters. We love getting excited, especially in season-long leagues. Man, you could get this guy who's not that good, but he plays every day at Coors Field, and he showed something once, so we got to be all over him. That's Hilliard right now. Since the break, he's hitting .304 with 6 homers and 63 plate appearances. He won't be at Coors Field tonight, which might mean he sees lower ownership than you'd expect, given a guy hitting that well at this kind of price. But at 2,200 with a platoon advantage against Jake Odorizzi, who I talked about earlier, somebody you could maybe look at, given how poor the Rockies normally are. But if you're not selecting him yourself, I think Hilliard with that kind of value, given how hot he's been lately, Odorizzi really has not been himself this year, 4.95 ERA. I don't think you're going to get many guys this hot down in the 2,200 range.